Welcome to the 4Cs podcast for SAP Business One, brought to you by Third Wave Business Systems. I'm Mike Ham, and my colleague Tyson McMurrin, bringing you a podcast that takes a deeper dive into the ERP system that is SAP Business One. We'll be hosting product experts and members of the Business One community, helping you, a Business One user, get the most out of SAP Business One. Hello and welcome to episode 8. This episode we'll be talking about communication and a tool that we found here at Third Wave to work well for us. It's called mind mapping. Tyson and I will be diving into this, so thank you, listeners. As always, we'll be starting with a quote. This one is, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." Tyson, what's that make you think of?
The picture is worth 1,000 words for me really kind of jumps out when we start talking about process. And when we look at a process, and if we were to describe that process in 1,000 words versus just showing a flow of what that looks like on paper, in like, for example, a swim lane analysis, it becomes very easy for us to, see the flow of information before and after. It also helps you identify, areas very quickly at a high level that maybe you need to focus on. So, from a workflow process perspective, a picture of a flow is certainly worth 1,000 words.
And I think what a picture does, and whether that's, like that speed bump slide that we showed a few episodes back about eliminating manual processes and turning it into things that are automated, is what it helps get out ideas. They're more clear, right? You're presenting them differently, whether that's, like I said, that speed bump slide, whether that's data presented in a chart or a graph to understand where the impact is coming from. Mind mapping has done that for us here at Third Wave, particularly on projects. It's just presenting the data in a different way. It's presenting the ideas in a different way. And often people are more visual learners, so you can pick up on a lot of things and make sense to a larger audience a lot quicker, more often than not, with a picture. And so let's take a look at an example of a mind map that we use here at Third Wave.
This was incredible that I use mind maps in university as a studying tool for gathering together concepts and ideas, and being a colorblind accountant, the true mind mapping where you start to color and put workflows into color, that didn't really jump out at me as a mind map concept really for me to use elsewhere. So I kind of use mind mapping in my note taking, where I kind of put sections of my notebook into different areas so that I can kind of, string things together and pull things together. But when you brought the digitized version of this to our marketing meeting, it really helped us kind of focus on the high level, what is it that we're trying to accomplish, and really allowed us to brainstorm behind all of that. But further to that, it also allowed us to start to kind of use it as a project tool, because it allowed us to kind of go in and list out the resources that we might have in, for example, in the marketing side of things. What do we have already in messaging? Absolutely. What do we have already for a landing page? What do we have already from imagery? So it allowed us to kind of categorize these areas. And I think the other thing that it really did when you brought this to the meeting, Mike, was it allowed us to, instead of focusing on the minutia, it allowed us to really think about, what is this marketing initiative really trying to accomplish? And it opened up a dialogue of brainstorming around it, versus us, getting into the minutia of a task list. So this tool, when you brought it in a digitized format, it just really kind of helped with the collaboration and the the thought process around things. And these days, you know, with the missing whiteboard, I think this tool really helped us, you know, accomplish in a short period of time something that we kind of struggled with before, you know, kind of putting it into a mind map where we could kind of focus on the areas. If something comes up, we can quickly throw it onto the mind map. We can address it later, and we don't go off on these long tangents into, you know, we're talking about a process, we're talking about an initiative at 30,000 feet, and then all of a sudden we're diving down into like 10 feet of detail. It allowed us to kind of take that 10 feet of detail, document it, drop it onto the mind map, categorize where it should fall, and leave it there because we know that we're not going to forget about it.
Absolutely. I don't think I could have said it any better. It's a combo of a whiteboarding session and a brain dump, right? Particularly with this, you know, in meetings, right? You have a number of different players in them, particularly, you know, in a planning meeting, right? You have folks from different areas of the company, and everyone has a different, you know, opinion, a different expertise. And so often what you said happens is, you know, we go from, you know, 30,000 feet to 10 feet, and then a lot of the productivity is lost. With this, just using it as a discussion tool or a whiteboarding tool is incredibly effective because you can do just that. I like the concept of kind of a brain dump where you're throwing all the ideas out on there. You're getting them in a place, or at least placed, and then later you can go back and you can rework the placing of these. You can also see them documented and understand who plays what role and assign these roles. But then going forward, you know, as this develops, right, you can turn this into what we did as a documentation tool, as a tool that can serve as a template. And that's what we did here. So in this example, what we use this as a marketing template. So we use this to understand what the messaging is going to be. And then, like you said, we can bring in all of the content pieces. We can understand how long we would want the specific campaign to be. We can then define a target audience, you know, where is this audience going to come from? How we're going to segment this, you know, is it going to be broken down to industry? Is it going to be broken down job title? You know, where are we going to pull this data from? What are they currently using? We can define campaign goals, and then we can define, you know, what we need to do going forward to prepare for when we kick off this campaign. And that's repeatable now. We have an outlined plan on how to approach anything we want to go to market with consistently. And it also keeps everyone in line, right? It allows you to see what campaign goals are so sales can focus on those. It allows the marketing team and the creative team to define and see where the gaps are in messaging. And, you know, the goals can also be used for other areas of the organization to see, are we staying on track? Are we hitting certain metrics? Is this working? You know, do we need to change something? That's where I think this has been, you know, super helpful and important for giving you a plan to follow.
Yeah, you couldn't say that better, Mike, because it really helped us focus on, you know, those high level pieces. We talk about this mind map as if it's, you know, this marketing tool, but really, you know, this mind map can be used for anything. It can be used for any kind of central topic that you want to, you know, try and either solve a problem, initiate a project around, you know, just kind of define out what things would look like. So for example, if you wanted to map out all of the different ways that you interact with a customer, or maybe you're launching a new product and you want to just kind of throw this in as a product launch, or maybe you're designing a new product and you want this to be a list of features around the product. The use cases around a mind map, I think, are really kind of endless, Mike.
Absolutely.
and I just, it's really important to note that, we're not saying that this is just for one thing, but I think the use cases around this are kind of anytime that you need to brainstorm, centralize the ideas, and keep people kind of focused. A mind map will really help you do that.
One thing that I think of, through a couple of those examples you mentioned was just what we've touched upon in a couple episodes is understanding where your bottlenecks are and understanding where your gaps are in your SAP Business One system, right? We talked about automating things and finding where those speed bumps are. So, you could throw SAP Business One here in the middle. You could outline all of your connections, and then you could also outline, where your areas of disconnect right here in a mind map. You get them on the map, and then you can figure out, okay, where are the areas of disconnect? What are the challenges? What are the touch points that each of these are causing? And then, okay, now off of those spokes, what's my plan of action so I can tie it back into SAP Business One? You could use it just to understand where your gaps are right now, and then go and see, okay, what do we deem priority number one, or what could we work on in Q2? What project would we want to automate for Q3, Q4, etc. That's just something I can see, the listeners using this for, is just taking a look at, where are there areas of disconnect.
And what I really like about this digitized version, Mike, is it's not just on the whiteboard for 4 minutes, during the meeting. And then maybe somebody takes a picture of it and it's kind of forgotten about. This becomes the living, breathing, map for that topic, like SAP Business One and all the processes. So it's not like there's a right or wrong answer to this. It's just you put it out there, and it's actually, this entity that has its own. It's interactive, because it's not like it's locked on a piece of paper and you can't edit it, right? There's no wrong answer when you're mind mapping.
Absolutely. And I think, one of the things I personally appreciate the most about them is, if you're slow getting started, with whatever type of project it may be, these are great for just no pressure. Doesn't have to be the perfect idea. Start with whatever you're doing in the middle, name of your project, and then just start getting stuff out, right? Just start throwing them out, and then you take a look, and then, before you know it, okay, I got 10 things on here, but 3 of them I think I can really go somewhere with. I think it's a good starting point for those who are slow starters in that regard, that it can be that brain dump for you to really get ideas out. It, like I said, much like the whiteboarding session when you're with, working with a team, but I found it incredibly impactful, working from home alone, not in that office atmosphere where you have the buzz of the office and other people. It can tend to be slow going sometimes, working on these projects alone and at home. I found this to be great for getting started and getting things off the ground running quickly. And then, like you said, it's interactive, and it's constantly growing. It's its own thing where you can continue to work on the same one. And we can touch upon a couple of the mind mapping products out there. We Third Wave use MindMeister because that was just the first one I came across. Truthfully, it was no real research was done on it. I found it, downloaded it, and it ended up working really well. But there's a ton of these products out there that all do about the same thing and can work for you and work for you on projects and work for you on team collaboration as well.
And that was one of the things that I asked you, Mike, is, where you found this product and if you were using it elsewhere. And you just said it was the first one that I saw. So I started using it. What I liked about the MindMeister, and again, we're not really kind of promoting one product or the other. There are other apps out there like Miro. MindMeister is one that we're using. There's XMind, and I'm sure there's probably a list of hundreds of them, but these are the ones that we kind of came across, in researching for this podcast. What I liked about the edition that you chose is, and maybe all of them have this feature, is that you can have it as kind of a personal desktop edition, but you can also have it where it's a enterprise edition where you can start to interact and have different users kind of interacting with the mind maps. So again, that whiteboarding you can take to kind of that enterprise and have multiple people logging in and interacting with the mind maps in a real-time fashion.
Oh yeah, and these are super affordable too. We're talking less than a subscription to Netflix a month, and that's for the highest account that you can get for multiple users and a business account, which is excellent.
And Mike, how much time did it take you to build out this template example that you used when we had our marketing meeting?
Yeah, it's a great question, because the first one, like I said, went down on within the mind map itself fairly quickly, under 5 minutes. And then, working with the team to develop it and turn it into the polished thing it is now, that took a couple meeting sessions to figure out exactly what we wanted in the template. But that's the beauty of this, right? Is it takes less than 5 minutes to get some real great stuff out there, that to have someone on the team look at it, and you can turn that into gold in another 10 minutes, and you have something really great to go off of instantly.
Yeah, so we talked a while back in the Data's the New Gold about insight, and I think with this mind mapping tool, it really kind of allows you to have that insight into what your processes look like.
You mentioned that it can be anything, and the goal is to just get one idea down after another, and then make the process come to life visually. And the goal being so that you can understand it more clearly, and then others can too. It's a different way of putting something in front of folks, and I think it's a great tool. And we'd love to hear your feedback, listeners, on if you've used mind maps, what you've used them for, how they've helped you. I'd love to hear some more creative ideas on how to get the most out of a great tool like this.
Yeah, and Mike, you really summarized up there exactly what our quote was, which is a picture's worth 1,000 words. So yeah, if the listening audience is using this, reach out to us and let us know how you're using it. Write some comments in our podcasts and provide some feedback, or reach out to us on our contact us. Our email addresses are always at the end of our podcasts, and also in the show notes. So as I mentioned, we did a bunch of research around this. So we found some good articles. We found a couple of these tools. So all these links will be available in the show notes. So go to the show notes and you can see the links there. And if you want to get in touch with us, and if you have some better ideas around using mind maps, reach out to us, and maybe we'll do a follow-up podcast on this concept, because the digitization of this is a game changer, Mike.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like you can see here, the ability to, those circles off of the main spoke, those can be clicked and expanded, and you can include HTML links and all sorts of visual graphics and drawings. And like Tyson said, this can be shared across multiple users, so you can really make this thing come to life in ways that you can't otherwise with filling up a notebook pad. Otherwise you're grabbing a sheet of poster board and trying to hope the mind map fits on one page.
Exactly. And as I mentioned, we can take this anywhere with us. So, hey, Mike, thanks so much for bringing this to the marketing meeting recently, because it really did help us, have that 30,000 foot view. And while we still dove down to kind of that 10,000 foot level, we never got stuck at that 10 foot or in the weeds level of something. So it really kind of helped us stay on point and focused within our marketing meetings. So thanks for bringing this to our attention, and thank you, audience, for joining us.
Absolutely. And with that, Audience, as Tyson mentioned, we thank you as always for joining us. This is episode 8 of the 4Cs podcast with Third Wave Business Systems. I'm Mike Ham. With me as always, my colleague Tyson McMurran. Thank you, listeners, and we'll see you soon.
Take care and stay connected, everyone.